RWM Home Loans in Fresno is a proud sponsor of Fuego FC. RWM Fresno, mortgages made easy and where your journey begins. Little Caesars has been a proud partner of Fuego FC for over a decade. Check out their new location on Cedar and Shields in Fresno and make sure to order some crazy bread. The Iron Office, a 24/7 private gym, veteran-owned, right here in Fresno, California. Make sure to lift heavy, lift often with the Fuego's official gym partner, the Iron Office. Envision Realty. We want to help those achieve the dream of home ownership. We are your voice and will be right by your side from beginning to end and beyond. Visit www.envisionfresno.com and be a future home owner. Edison Gonzalez.
What's up, brother?
What's up, man?
Good to see you, man.
It's good to see you too. One of the things about this podcast that we've done, we've had like a bunch of random kind of interviews. This last one that we did Blue Shell Gaming and the Fresno Fair, and it was cool because it's just like completely different field
environment.
And it's been kind of fun because like this podcast has been kind of for soccer, but it's also just been to highlight people in the community and other businesses that we partner with. And so I think people will be super excited to get back to an alumni, to somebody involved in kind of the development side and hopefully soon the coaching side of things as well.
Thank you.
But I'd love to just kind of get some fun stories about your former Fuego playing days, and I know you guys, there's a bunch of stuff you probably can't say in front of camera, but you were with the team for a long time, like from the early on days, almost really. As soon as you were like, how old were you when you first started with the Fresno?
I was like just training when I was like 17. I was end of my senior year in high school, and Profe Jaime was like, "Hey, come train with the guys," because I was gonna go to FPU that following fall, and so you're looking at in that summer, I just would go out and train and. It was guys. I remember I used to go to Fuego games with their FPU when I was a kid. As a fan, I was a ball boy talking smack to the opposing goalkeeper behind where I'd get kicked out of games.
Oh, wow.
Because I'd be like, a goalkeeper, you suck, or something like that. But yeah, no, thank you for having me and having this and being able just to kind of get the word out and while we're here, right? And kind
absolutely.
of doing that. So
we got a lot to talk about. Well, so what drew you to wanting to play for the Fuego, and then what was the experience like of being, because you were there in the early days before Chick-Chansey Park, right?
So even before that, I was just a fan. How I knew, actually, funny story, when one of the beginning talks with the ownership group and Jaime and all the coaches was at my parents' restaurant. Mexican restaurant. If you guys don't know, Las Abuelitas, it was a good little fun spot, and they used to go after FPU games and go and eat 2 for 1. And I used to be there because I was with Roosevelt Revolution, when Jaime was the director there. And it was just down the street from FPU, by the way, just right there on Kings Canyon Winery.
Okay.
And so they used to come in at 9 o'clock, and I used to stay because my dad would take me to practice, pick me up, and I would wait till closing time. So they would always show up 9 o'clock, 9 p.m., 9:30, and have food. And I'd be there because I used to think of them like looking at Messi, right? Like they were my idols. They were guys that I wanted to emulate. And they would talk to me too. That was one of the good things, is that, still running into those, to Capi, to Ergardo, to Jaime, Joel, you got Souza, Spider, like all these guys, like Milton, Fabricio, Tato, all these guys, they've seen me when I was, 8, 9 years old.
Yeah.
And so being able to, I would serve chips and salsa to them and stuff. So I just wanted to be around the guys. And so being around those early stages of those talks is when they had them there, to be able to see it and actually put on the Fuego the Fuego jersey, it means amazing. And now that it's here in even a higher stage, right, in a more, you know, a full-on professional, you know, stage, it's amazing. So it's kind of like, you know, you bleed red, you know, Fuego Familia. It's real. It's rooted. It's deep. And so it's just an honorable thing just to be part of the Fuego Familia is what we call it. So
absolutely. Yeah, no. And now, Don Tacha?
Don Tacha, if you guys don't know, man.
Bomb tacos?
Bomb tacos. I mean, we've gone there a few times. You know, 2-for-1 micheladas. I'm kind of like promoting them, you know, for free here. So don't worry, they'll cater some food for us.
Plug.
Yeah, right. But no, I mean, my family is just business.
Why food? Like, why did they decide to get into food?
Well, a big part of it. So my dad and my mom, they've always, in the Mexican culture, it's food and drink, right? And that's what brings people together. And so you can have the worst day, you can have a great day. If you need a meet, it's always around food and drink. And so my family has always been about serving. And so what better way is to serve part of the culture there is through food. And so, I mean, as a kid, my mom used to make breakfast Monday through Friday. And I'm not talking like cereal. I'm talking like homemade, like egg croissant sandwiches and like pancakes from scratch and French toast. And all my buddies from around the block would come and eat before we went to school. And so my family's always been about serving. And so I think just food is always been our calling. And I mean,
how you managed to stay fit through this whole process from a kid is...
I wish I was fit, man, but I do got to run. I do got to stay a little bit more active. Literally, I work out to eat more than anything. So
I need to follow that same suit. So, I mean, from going from a Fuego player to, you know, the next phase of your career after college, you went into coaching and you've been involved in various different areas, and now you're doing multiple things. You're with Odyssey, you're coaching Buchanan, you're with Clovis Community College. I mean, so you're with literally every level of youth sport and amateur sport here locally. I mean, what's that experience like? I think with us at Fuego, one of our missions and visions is obviously to develop local players. And so you as a local player saw what the development was like here. Now you're part of the development. I mean, what's kind of the next phase, and how do you feel like the professional side with the Fuego can really benefit the community on the player development end?
Well, I think, you know, just me personally with my experiences is I'm a product of this community. I mean, I literally, where we're at right now, I grew up at I went to Lawless Elementary, which is just across the street over here. And so that being here, going to Bullard, going to FPU, and having one is the people that have been put in front of me to help and support me. You know, I think having that recipe to be able to go from one stage to the next, I think now having some professional organization to kind of go back and go to lower levels to develop. And I'm not saying someone like me, but there definitely is a pathway for not even through soccer, but just in personally as well. And so I think having Fuego is going to be able to give those opportunities through community, through soccer, through sport, through all these different avenues that someone can learn and develop here in Fresno, as opposed to having to go to LA or having to go to San Francisco or having to go out of the country to get the exposure and you would say the experiences that you need to continue to grow. And so I've been blessed to be able to do that here without having a professional, full-on professional side, but Fuego was for me, you know. And so now that Fuego is now going to be the leader, the highest level of footy and organization in pro sports here in the Valley. I mean, it's an amazing thing that I just can't wait to see how it continues to unfold.
Yeah. What are some, now that you've been in coaching for a while now and you've seen the development arm, and I'm sure you've kind of studied other countries' models, I mean, what are some of the challenges that we're facing here in this country with the development model and maybe some of the policy and things like that that you may think are holding U.S. soccer Shout out U.S. Soccer.
Yeah.
U.S. Soccer back from the rest of the world.
I think part of it is we're trying, and us, I mean, the U.S. soccer, just soccer here in this country, of footy, right, is we're trying to replicate things that have been done in other countries and follow that exact model. And we can't. One is just the pure size of the country. I mean, it is huge. I mean, they're saying that, I think, what was it, like California can fit all of England, right? And they have so many clubs within a radius of it. Here, I mean, you got to get on a 5-hour plane ride to go from East Coast to West Coast. And then you got the forgotten states of like Hawaii and Alaska, which are still behind in that. But I think the area is one, and also just us trying to emulate how other countries have developed their players. And I think we have to embrace the athletes that we have, because a big one is everywhere I've gone is there's very good athletes here in the U.S. But part of it is they're maybe playing other sports, and that's just where we're at. And so we're kind of behind on the timeline with the development side. But even then, you see the MLS league, you see it, you know, when it started in the mid-'90s to where it's at now, we're producing players. Now players are coming in, being here for a year or two, and then getting sold to bigger clubs. You know, you saw just Rossi from LAFC. I think he went to, where'd he go, Fenerbahce, or I forget, somewhere in Europe. And that just shows the development that the MLS has gone from the infancy to where it's at now. I think another issue would be having more opportunities for players to play year-round without limiting their hours. So
that's a topic I wanted to get into with you because of your experience at the collegiate level, at the D1 level, as well as the junior college level. It's like I've spoken to a few players, Fresno FC players, some players who played other places, that kind of said like their college experience in a way held them back. Mm-hmm. I mean, what are your thoughts on that? And do you think that's true? Do you think, I mean, obviously you can't advocate against what you're doing. You're a college coach. But do you get that sense that the American policy, whether it's high school, college, academy, whatever it is kind of holding back some of these players from their pro aspirations?
Yeah, I think it's kind of hit and miss, right? You're kind of teetering on one side, because I think college soccer is great. It's part of the American culture with other sports, and we're trying to kind of mesh it with the world's game, right? And then with the U.S. way of athletics. I think there's a way where we can kind of have your cake and eat it too. There just has to be some changes. There was an initiative to go to a 10-month season in college soccer.
Right, because right now it's what, it's a 3-month season and then an optional 2-month season?
Yeah, so you got August to, and if you make the national championships, December, and then you have a spring season, which is a non-championship where you play maybe 8 weeks and you play 5 games in them. They were saying they wanted to do like a spring or a fall and a spring to be able to play 20 games, and then you have playoffs late spring, early summer. So I think that you'll see it's hard for college players to adapt to MLS or to just regular worldwide footy. On one, they talk about the periodization, which we can talk. I mean, I was talking with Fonzie about this, like the periodization, where a lot of college players.
Shout out Alfonso.
Yeah, Fonzie, man, good dude.
Kansas City, still in Kansas, sporting KC.
Yeah, Kansas City.
Moving on up.
Yep, doing good things, man.
Alumni as well.
Yep.
Shout out to him.
And we're talking about they're getting injuries. Maybe they're not only physically but mentally they're getting drained and kind of exhausted after a 2 or 3 month season, because they're so used to that they're programmed to 2 or 3 months, and then December hits, or whatever the timeline is, summer for MLS, is that they get a dip in form. And so
it's like a boxer who's used to fighting a 4 and 8 round fight, and then all of a sudden going into a 12 rounder, and they're just gassed.
Yeah. So it's hard for less and less, you would say, college or American-based college players are making that jump. And so that's one. And then obviously I think, and talking with different coaches, the substitution rules, it's unlimited. I mean, literally the same
guys
player
aren't used
can
to
go.
Playing 90.
Yeah, a lot of players can go in and go out every 10, 15 minutes if they wanted to. They could literally get subbed in on a corner and then come out.
It doesn't match
And this
the
is
program
junior
at all.
college, yeah. And then in the 4 years, you have, once you come out, then you get one re-entry. But still, you could still play 15 minutes, get a rest, and then finish the game for the last other 10 minutes or something. Mm-hmm. And so you got programs that have a lot of players in depth, and they're just subbing them on fly changes.
I mean, at the college level, is it also an 18-man roster on game day?
You can have as many as you want.
Really? So you could play 30 guys in a match?
Literally, that's what happens.
Wow.
I mean, today we have a match against Fresno City, so shout out. And I don't know if I was supposed to say this.
Yeah. Totally
and we'll see. We'll have, depends how many players Fresno City has and sub, and we'll sub as well just because of the game allows for it. But yet when...
It's such a different game
it's
compared
a different
to the pro
game.
level.
I mean,
such a different game.
Even when the whole pandemic happened and they were allowing for 5 substitutions, right, as opposed to the 3, some coaches were against it and some other coaches were for it. Some were saying, well, this Man City has, 2, 3 first-team players, so that's going to benefit him. Other coaches were like, no, I have only 14 good players, so the 3 subs are perfect. And so you look at some of the...
What's your view?
Huh?
What's your view on that?
Regarding, I think...
the amount of substitutions per match.
I think
because that's continued to now, right? In the EPL...
Yeah,
are they still allowing? They're still allowing.
They're still. I think they went back to 3.
Oh, they went back.
I think back to 3, but they're still. I'm trying to think which leagues were then. They should have changed it, but if not, it's continued.
I personally liked it, just as a fan, because you see a more diverse usage of your roster, and I think as a Liverpool fan, there's guys that don't even make the 18 each week that I'm excited about watching and seeing some of those young players come out and have success. But I also think it really starts showing the skill of the coach.
Exactly.
And the manager of who's in your 18, how are you going to utilize it if you're up or down or you're tied, And so I enjoyed the strategy and the chess match and I think as we watch U.S. soccer now, there's been a lot of criticism lately of Berhalter on his usage of subs or lack thereof, right? Yeah. He hasn't made adjustments as quickly as I think people might want to see. And it's had varying results, So I find that very interesting to see what things COVID is going to force us to change in the world in general, but also in the game. And I actually enjoyed the more subs.
I liked it too, just because it was a little more dynamic. You still there's even in I love watching EPL. So my team's Man United, so that's why. And being able to see Ole be making these changes, and you're seeing 20 guys play on a week, right? One game on Tuesday or Wednesday, and then on the weekend having the match. And then midweek it can also have an EFL match or something. And so part of it too is just relative to where you're at, right? But I think for us, the 5 substitution would have been good, I think, just because of that reason. They're still having that... the tactical on when you can make changes and who you're going to put in. So there's that part of it as coaching as opposed to just putting guys unlimited. So I think that disconnect between the college game, that's where it's not realistic when the guys are trying to play at the next level. Because unless they are playing, there's some college coaches that make 4 or 5 subs in a game, and that's it. And it's the same 15, 16 guys that play.
Yeah, it's going to depend on your depth.
Yeah, and so...
a lot of factors.
Obviously, the teams that don't have much depth, you don't make as many changes, and the teams that do make changes. And so I think...
to me, that's the hard part about making a broad, sweeping change. Because for me, on the professional sports side, I'm all about fan experience, right? Where you're coming from a much more technical side. You have playing experience, you have coaching experience. From a fan engagement perspective, I think the quality of the match is higher when you have more subs. And
there's
you can
more
see
actions.
There's more, and there is. And at the end of the match, you don't have as many players who are gassed on the pitch, and you can see some maybe higher level or higher quality of play at the end of a match than normally when guys are kind of heavy legs and stuff like that. But I also see on the college perspective, it's I only get X amount of scholarships.
Yeah.
Like, I can't bring in 30 guys, and we're going to play a team that has 30 players, and you know what I mean? So it's like, it's very interesting to see how that's affected the game.
And just to touch on that point is that there's some coaches that I've had conversations with, and they're saying they like the unlimited substitution because they know they're going to play in December, and they're playing 25 matches in literally 3 months.
Yeah, so you need the depth.
So you need to make those changes, or if not, guys are going to get injured. Mm-hmm. And sure enough, I mean, that's what happens. You know, for one reason or another, you're having to share those minutes throughout a 3-month season, and you're playing literally 2 or 3 games a week, that's a lot.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
It definitely makes you think. It's like, the great thing about collegiate sports is it gives people an opportunity to gain their education who may otherwise not have decided to attend college, and hopefully that betters their lives. But then when you think about the success of our country in football, it's like, is that really helping us achieve the goal that we want to have of one day winning a World Cup, right? Or producing top-level MLS talent that could be sold to Europe that would increase the level financially of the MLS to then buy and bring in big-name players and become competitive on a global standpoint. Yeah. So it's like, are we robbing Peter to pay Paul? Do we all have the same goals aligned? I don't think we do at the moment.
I think that's where I think we got to do our own thing, because if we just follow the strict European or South American model, we're not embracing our culture. The American culture is just unique in itself, and so that's where I think it has to be like a hybrid, like a combination, a meshed, way of doing it for the development of soccer in this country. And then you got the whole, you touch base I'm seeing on the youth club side, where it costs money, and you go to other countries where it's free. Like literally they maybe pay a registration fee for the whole year, and then that's it. But they're also, you can literally go across town and play against a rival club, and that's like a significant game, right?
But I also think like that's a common conversation that you hear people have. But I think the detail and the nuance of it isn't really explained to people. Like, everybody thinks like, oh, pay for play is bad and free is good. Well, there's no such thing as free lunch, right? Someone's paying for that kid to be developed. The reason that they have the capability to do that is because they've developed a system to develop a player and sell that player for a lot of money. And so then there's money there to be able to pay for those kids and invest in their development. And that's not in existence in the United States just yet. And so that's where I get to like these conversations about policy and college and all these protections that all these different entities have of youth that prevent the professional side from being able to create enough funds to then go back and develop kids in their community. Yeah.
And that's another point that I was going to say. Well, they have that model where they're able to do that. So how do you get funding? If you can't get government funding, right, then how else are you going to raise money? By donations and sponsorships? But then where are the quality coaches? If you want coaches to be full-time to really focus on developing a kid, unless they're really rich or they just they have everything paid for, it's really hard to be able to pay for those things, right, which we talk about. And so that's a big one. And a lot of it has to do with, I know they've mentioned like child labor laws, right, where how are you going to sell a kid? There's been some articles out there saying like, oh no, that's like kind of trafficking or something, like like child labor laws where you're making a kid work for and exploiting money, so there's been things about that. But I think that if there is a process, if there is a way of doing it, I think that it would benefit those clubs. Because even now, if there's like you would say like Santos, still every time that there's a transaction for a certain player, like you would say like Neymar, right? If Neymar, gets sold from one club to the next, they still get a percentage off of it.
Do they really?
Yeah. And it's something, if it's like 100 million, even if it's 1%, I mean, you're looking at still amount of money for a small little club. So
because they developed them.
So they still get that development clause, that fee that goes everywhere that player goes, because they were part of the initial development. So yeah, so that's part of it. So I think,
I mean, that's the business of soccer. And I mean, if you really think about worldwide, it's like, or for us, the Fuego are never going to be able to sell enough tickets or enough sponsorship or enough merchandise to be able to truly make the pay-for-play model go away.
Yeah.
Right? The transactions and selling players to a different country or to a big club is the real money that can develop that model. And I think for us as a soccer community, it's like we have to fight to make sure that that's happening. And I think it is slowly. I think the USL and the MLS are doing a good job. I think US Soccer is trying to make some changes. But you're right. All the child labor laws and all the things of like employment of youth or selling and profiting off of young players, those things are major changes that need to happen in this country for us to really take soccer to the next level.
And FIFA's gotten better, where now the certain age level of someone that can go to a club is, I believe, 16. So as long as they're in your farm system, like, they still have these rules. Some clubs, kind of bend them a little bit and do all things. You hear about them in the news all the time.
When was Messi signed to Barcelona? Like 13, 14 years old?
He was young, man. They brought him when he was young, like even younger than that. I mean, I don't know if he was like 8 or 9 years old or something like that. Wow. And they signed him in, but they had to do a full family move. So they do a full family move. He had those growth hormone treatments, and now he's, if not the best, one of the best players ever lived. So there's all these things, and I think that if there is a process, put in place here in the States, then I think footy in this country can take another leap forward.
Yeah, no question. Well, let's go into another reason why you're here, and something really exciting about what you're doing with yourself is running a marathon. You're running in the Two Cities Marathon coming up, which is a qualifier for the Boston Marathon. Crazy to even think someone would decide to put themselves through something that's going to have such a toll on their body, such a toll on their mind. Like, sometimes people really wonder, like, why the hell is somebody running 26 miles and beating themselves up like it? What motivated you to decide to run a marathon? And, what are some of the things that go into the thought process of preparing for that event?
Yeah. Well, initially, I used to run cross country when I was 7th grade, 8th grade, and then I just used it because I was gonna, if I could do cross country, it's gonna help me with soccer, right? And so I always thought I was a strong runner, always in the top of the team of running and those fitness challenges. Shout out to Copy when he would do it. I was always, the only guy that would always beat me would be this guy named Justin Finch. Good dude. I would always come in second. I was like, one day I'm gonna beat him. And anyways, so always being not, they call it the runner's high. So that's part of it. It's like getting out to run in the beginning sucks, but once you get in the groove, so anyone that's ever ran, long distance and stuff,
I've never felt that in my life.
They know exactly what I'm talking about. And part of it too is that having something to push myself for as I get older. I don't play as much, right? And so having a little bit of competition with that, and getting into it and seeing the sport a little bit more, even going out and buying shoes. It's like buying cleats, right? Like those nice cleats when I got these nice cleats. Well, these are like specific, like good running shoes. And I'm like, all right, these are going to help me, and like, they look cool or whatever. But the main reason is that how can I use this to be able to raise awareness? And so that kind of, obviously brings us here is to raise awareness for bone marrow donation, which I donated this past February. A kid that was they had cancer, and so he needed a bone marrow transfusion, and so did that. And
what was that like? I mean, walk us through that. I mean, I think as we were talking right before the podcast, you hear about people who donate, and there's a big time fear. Sometimes people have fear of needles, or they have fear.
That's me, by the way.
The pain. Yeah. What was the process like? Why did you decide to do it?
So again, it goes back to our family values, is just giving. If you are able to help someone in need, help them out. You know, if you're able to provide assistance, if you're able to give, do it. That's been one of our principles in our family, and that shows in our community here with Fuego. I mean, that here in Fresno, I've had so many people help me in one way or another. I mean, I think when we were going to school together, we would, you know, you helped me out, I helped you, whatever. Yep. We supported each other, and that's important to me, and I get great joy by giving. That's just I feel like that's part of my calling, is to help whenever there's a need. And so I registered when I was in I think in my senior year in college at FPU. They had a booth out, and they're saying, hey, would you like to be on the registry for bone marrow? I was like, sure. I was like, yeah, whatever. If I'm able to help, then cool. And I've also had my grandma, my mom's mom, passed away from breast cancer. And obviously modern medicine isn't as where it is right now as it was 20 plus years ago. Mm-hmm. And so that, and then also I had a friend just a couple years ago have pelvic cancer, and so he went through treatment and had all that. So that's another reason it hit home for me to be able to donate. And I was on the registry. I got a phone call. You know, it's very, you know, you would say specialized, right? Like because specialized. It can't just be anyone off the street donate to anyone. You have to have, I mean, they call it what is it, like a president's physical or something, where they checked me from head to toe and did all these tests and exams just to make sure that I was the right fit for the patient that was going to get the. And so I got a call in October and was like, hey, we think you're a possible match. I mean, literally they send you a kit, and then you just you do a cheek swab and send it in. It's kind of like the 23andMe, like the DNA. You do that and you send it back, and then you get, okay, you're in the registry now. And so whenever there's someone that needs it, and they do a potential match, and then they get further testing. And that's where the further testing came in, where I had to get blood drawn a few times. I got x-rays and, you know, all these things where it's, you know, out of 3 appointments, you get everything done. And then from there they say, hey, you are the right match. The thing is, for me, usually it's the process is maybe from when they do the cheek swabs and all the tests to when you actually donate. It's maybe 6 months to a year. But mine was kind of expedited because the kid wasn't, it was a little boy, he was 3.5, almost 4 years old. Wow. And he wasn't doing so well. So they had to do an emergency, and I wasn't supposed to, this was October. They said potential donation surgery was April, May, and they had to fly me out emergency in February. And so they rushed everything.
And this kid had leukemia, or?
They didn't disclose that to me. I have to wait a year for them to give any information on that. So they told me no news is good news. So the kid's doing well so far. Awesome. And so that was the process. I mean, there's 2 ways to donate. You can do where they inject you with some medicine. I forget the exact process because I'm drawing blanks, but they do a blood transfusion. And so basically for 3 days, they inject you with some medicine, and then they draw that blood out, and then it goes through a process, and that's how they get the bone marrow, or really? The makeshift of that. And I don't know the exact process.
Similar to donating blood.
That's one way. I did the other one. Okay. I did the actual where iliac crest, where they come in and they get a needle that, I mean, it was a pretty big needle, like the size of a number 2 pencil. Like, wow. I still have 2 scars on right on my waist.
Wow. So where do they pull? What bone do they pull your bone marrow from? Your hips?
Yeah, right in your hip bone. I mean, they go in and they.
I'd always wondered, like, if it was in your, you know, like big bones, like a femur or.
So that's where a lot of you would say the good juice. The doctor called it. Okay. You know, with bone marrow, that's a really tough bone. It's very strong. I mean, they say if you break your pelvic bone, is like that's one of the hardest bones, and your femur to break. So drawing blood from there, and also that that's the good juice. So they drew it from there. They had 2 sites. Depending on how much, the bigger the individual, the more bone marrow they need to draw. Again, I don't know the details on that, but yeah, during the pandemic was a little crazy. That I got so many COVID tests and there was a up the nose, and it's not like the cheek swab, and so I hate that stuff anyways.
Yeah, makes your eyes water.
And needles too, just even drawing blood. I mean, I'm a little wimp when it comes to that. I get nauseous and stuff, so I have a phobia of needles. But I was just thinking, it's like, man, if I'm able just to go through a little bit of this, pain, then so be it. But there's a less invasive one. It was the first procedure that could be done, and then I did this one just because, just on how I am, I don't want to be injected with a bunch of medicine and stuff to be able to draw. So I was like, nah. And then ended up being the best for the patient as well. Yeah. So I'm a proponent on Be The Match. I can share my Instagram and website, just bethematch.org.
Yeah, we'll add that at the bottom of this as well.
And so
and Be The Match.
It's
and
cool.
Be The Match is the name of the organization that does the bone marrow transplants, right?
Yeah. So it's a nonprofit. They do it, and part of the thing too is when I flew out, they paid for everything. It's not like you're paying out of pocket. They even pay for lost wages whenever you have to take work off. I think 6 days off. So
was that because like you had to travel there, get it done, and then there's a recovery process too?
Yeah, exactly. So they pay you that for the week. I mean, after the thing, I was up and walking. I'm a little stubborn. So I was, after the third or fourth day, they told me not to, but I just felt so antsy, locked up in a hotel room. So I had to go.
So how long were you in the hospital for? Just
it was just that day, yeah.
And then I got
to go home right after, after a couple hours after the procedure, and then
and you just go back to your hotel
for a couple days, and then I flew back after 2 or 3 days.
Wow.
And that was.
Did you experience pain? Was it painful? Like. Or was it kind of just like more than what people think it is?
No, I think I'm just a baby when it comes to that. They've had people where they're pretty young donors where they've come and they're good, they're fine and stuff. I was just really sore more than anything, and I think I made it worse when I was up and going and kind of moving around. Yeah, I pushed myself, and that's where I think I had a little bit of more pain. But I had my girlfriend with me. She helped me. She's a perfect nurse, that was with me. So obviously you have someone that supports you, but that helped. But as far as the pain, I mean, I'm up now. I was already running after a couple weeks, which they told me to wait like 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah, so you're just always pushing.
But I was just always pushing. And part of us as athletes is that, hey, man, you're a little hurt. Like, you just...
It's the difference between hurt and injured, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so I asked the doctor, I was like, hey, by the way, so am I not able to? They're like, well, it's just as tolerated with pain. So I was like, that's it. It's not like if I go run and my bone's gonna, They're like, no, it's just, if you can deal with the pain, then go ahead. And also I didn't, like I said, with the medicine, I don't like taking medicine with all that. And I think just the first day I took some ibuprofen. Aside from that, I didn't.
Yeah, nothing strong.
Yeah, so it's not, for some people, it's not bad. It's not like something where it's a crazy procedure where they're gonna take some things out of you, and it's like you're donating an organ.
Right.
But I mean, it's still something where the sacrifice can be there, and you can literally save a life.
For sure.
Another former coach. Danny Olivo, which was a coach at Odyssey back when I was young. He's good friends with Chad McCarty. And he donated, had the same procedure, and he donated, I don't know, this was like 17 years ago. And it was to a little girl. She was like maybe a couple years old. And now she's, I think, a junior in college. So he shared that story with me, which is pretty cool. And they're so close. So it's super powerful. And just being able to have people like that to share stories, I think it's amazing. That's what I feel like, that's part of our principles, if you're able to, right?
Yeah, I mean, having a serving, giving mindset is really important. And I think that's, some of that is what makes up this club. It's always made up this club, is giving back to the community and having that kind of serving type of nature. So we're really excited, along with Capelli Sport, to be able to sponsor you through your marathon.
Thank you so much.
We're definitely going to kit you out and get everything on it. And by drawing awareness to this, it also obviously ties in with our Not All Heroes Wear
Yep.
Capes program, where we have young kids who are undergoing cancer treatment, various different types of cancer. Many of them are undergoing leukemia treatment. And one of the things about childhood cancer, there's obviously a lot of research and a lot of dollars that go towards it, thank God, to be able to come up with these types of procedures. But it's still, there needs to be more. And there needs to be more people out there like you that are willing to donate and to give, and for other people to donate blood. I mean, I know for, myself, and obviously my spouse is going through cancer. She's had various times where she's received blood donations, and they've been very important life-saving measures. So it's just like doing something as simple as donating blood can save someone's life, can save multiple lives. And then donating bone marrow, I mean, that goes above and beyond in that. So we're obviously really excited to sponsor you. We're excited that we're going to have some Mikey Garcia signed jerseys that we are also going to be auctioning off on your behalf, that will go towards providing some funds to go back to these Not All Heroes Wear Capes, to these young kids, and do some exciting things with them. So I know that they're going to be cheering you on through this marathon. We're going to be cheering you on through this marathon. And it's just a really exciting time, and we're super proud to be able to do that with you, and proud of you in general.
No, thank you. Thank you so much. I mean, shout out to Fuego for supporting on this. Whenever, when I came with this idea, he was just like, no, let's do it. And obviously with the personal connection, with your spouse, that's it hits home. And so part of us is, hey, if we're able to make awareness, right, to share awareness on and have that for people that don't, maybe they just need to get a little bit more information. Maybe it's something that they're going to get inspired to be able to help. And it could be something, and maybe it isn't donating bone marrow, but it's maybe sharing that story with someone that is able to, right? Or to be able to donate blood, or if it's something to raise funds to buy some of these auction items to be able to support. Because I think us as a community, as a human race, right, even broader, is we have a duty to do, and that's part of the values that, even I go back to Profe Jaime, it still hits with me. It's called servant leadership. Yep. And that literally, I think it's even on my Instagram, because I try to live it every day. It's kind of like, I'll give you the shirt off my back if you need it type thing. And because you never know when you'll need help, right? And so it's just trying to have good karma, be out there, and then obviously donate some Mikey Garcia jerseys signed, and also being able to donate mine. Don't worry, it's not going to be the sweaty one that's going to be all nasty on that day, but a replica of that one with all the things. So it should be a fun environment. That's another shout out to Esquadron. To hopefully you guys can come out and support. It's a fun event. It's at Clovis Community College is the start and finish. That is home to CJ Albertson, another local runner that you would say, but he's on the pro ranks. He got 10th in the Boston Marathon. Wow. And so just trying to have a community-based backed event and share awareness on this, man. This is going to be fun. It's going to be challenging. People tell me I'm crazy. Right. Even, some other, friends and family like, man, you're crazy. Like, why are you doing it? I was like, well, I feel like when you have a purpose to do something, it's very well,
That's an interesting perspective, because you kind of wonder, like, when you hear about marathoners, it's often not always the physical limitations, right? It's the mental side of things.
Oh yeah.
So do you feel like that's a way that you're finding a way to motivate yourself to, like, those last 5-6 miles where it's really tough, where your body's beating it up, to think about something that's not just about running?
100%. I think that is when I've talked to a lot of people, and even doing the runs that I've done myself, is that mental push. Physical, obviously, the physical is a big one, but also the mental, where you have people cheering you on if you're kind of running for another cause. I think that's kind of what gets going. Like, even for training, I'm like, man, I don't want to roll out of bed. But I mean, if you have a bigger cause for it, I think that's part of the motivation, right? And
it's kind of easy sometimes to let yourself down. You know what I mean? I don't want to go to the gym this morning. But when you are doing something for someone else, right? If you have to show up to the gym to train somebody else, you're going to go to the gym, right? And I feel like with these kids, these little heroes, these people like the person that you donated to, when you know you're running for them, you know what I mean? I just feel like that's going to help push you to the next level.
Yeah. So hopefully, I mean, I hope that anyone can come out. Again, it's still an event too, where they'll have like a beer garden, they'll have food vendors, and it's a fun little event on Sunday, November 7th. But I think having that part, the most important part is running for someone and being able to, all right, like let's get going. You know, people cheering you on and all that. I think it's a beautiful thing. Yeah. And so why not? Why not, right?
Why not? Well, where can people find you or reach out to you if they want to also donate or support this cause or find more information about Not All Heroes Wear Capes or Be the Match? Where can they reach you?
So, I mean, I handle Instagram a lot. Twitter, not so much, but it's EDDIE_G711. That's my Instagram handle. And also, I believe, Twitter handle. And then just shoot me a direct message. You can follow. I'll post stuff on my bio too with Be the Match. So you just click the link and then it'll do that. Also, we're gonna have a link for this event too with Not All Heroes Wear Capes. So we'll have that link on there. And obviously you can follow CV Fuego. What's the handle on?
Yeah, CV Fuego on Instagram and
as well.
Fuego_football on Twitter, Central Valley Fuego on Facebook. And yeah, I mean, I think, and if there's also people out there listening that know someone who's been impacted by cancer or received a bone marrow transplant, or somebody who's undergoing it now, especially the youth that could be part of this Not All Heroes Wear Capes. Yeah. We've been really proud over this last year to do multiple things. We gave Easter baskets to a group of 5 kids that are undergoing chemo. Then we did an event with the Fresno Grizzlies where these kids went out and they dressed up like heroes and they got to launch off the fireworks after a 4th of July game. It was just an incredible experience to highlight them. And I think, I can't speak from personal experience of going through cancer myself. Obviously, my spouse is, but the support for the families, the support for the individuals, communities rallying around each other and highlighting people that are battling is such an important part of cancer, because a lot of it, kind of like a marathon, is a mental side of things, and it's being able to stay positive and keep motivation to keep fighting and going through the hard days and going through chemo, and still living life. That's an important part of cancer too, is being able to enjoy living. And so events like these, I think, help highlight the people that are going through it, but also highlight the people like you that are helping make a difference. And so we're super proud to partner with you on this, and we're really looking forward to November 7th
Sunday.
At Clovis Community College. Sunday. I hope everybody can make it out and cheer on Eddie and greet him at the finish line as you come across. I know that'll be a powerful moment for you.
Thank you so much.
And hopefully you qualify for the Boston Marathon.
Yeah.
And we can do it again then.
Yeah,
I'm really excited about that.
That's the goal. So right now I'm gonna be close, just going on what the qualifying times are. Still training. I did get pushed back a couple weeks because of the air quality, but running inside on a treadmill is not the same as running outside. Sure. But you gotta adapt, right? You gotta adapt. You gotta do what you can, and so
you're gonna do it. We know you're gonna do it.
That's the plan, baby.
Let's go.
Let's do it.
All right, Eddie. Thank you, man. Appreciate this.
Thank you, Chris. Appreciate it.
See you guys.